Packaging and pricing. I know, like, what in the world is that? Like, how is that even an enjoyable topic? I'm not sure. But one of the things that I have been thinking a lot about is packaging and pricing ourselves. And how do we even do that? How do we put ourselves in a place where we can monetize what we know, as well as what does that even matter? Like, how much does it cost? How much should I be charging? And how is that perceived value of what that offer is? So, throwing all that aside, thinking about business basics. I was thinking last night about a story where I get asked a lot, what's the difference between living in New York and LA? And I find that a lot of people ask me this question. And it's a hard one to answer because, oh, you know what? I'm gonna fix my audio. I think my audio on YouTube is gonna go a lot better now. Okay, great. Yay. Okay, so thinking about budgeting and pricing is like the worst idea of like a topic for YouTube, right? It's like not entertaining. It's certainly not entertaining for TikTok, but I want to talk about this important thing because we are not taught enough about how to budget and price ourselves, especially like for me when I come from corporate. But I was thinking about this story and about how I get asked a lot, what's the difference between living in New York and living in LA? Now, I'm a Texas girl originally. I grew up in Texas. And when I graduated college, I was like, New York or LA, get me out of Texas. And I came to LA first. And I lived in LA for 5 years. And then I moved to New York City and lived there for 2. Now, the kind of funny thing about those stories is, or I don't know, ironic learning failure stories, is that I did move to LA with a job. I graduated Texas A&M with a job, ready to go in a career called advertising. It was my first ad agency job, and I got to move here with a job. 3 months in, y'all, 3 months in, I was fired. Okay, my first job out of college, and I was fired. It was the most ridiculous reason. I think really they just needed a reason to downsize. It was a small little agency shop, but that doesn't exist anymore. However, amazing learning came out of that. One was that somebody that I had met while working there said, Rhiannon, go get a job as an assistant media planner. And I did not know what an assistant media planner was. And I went and got a job as an assistant media planner. But it took a lot of strife and a lot of action to get that job. And I will talk about that on another day. But I have this experience of being in LA without a job, having to find a job, and what that experience was like. And I moved to New York City with no job and no place to live as well. So both experiences of hustling to get jobs in each city, working in advertising, working at top ad agencies, and what that experience was like. And I get asked a lot, one, what's the difference between the two? And 2, like, which one should I do? Or which one should I live in? Or if they're in LA, should I live in New York? If I'm in New York, should I live in LA? And what I find is the commonality between the two is that, one, both are hustle places, right? Like, I grew up in Texas, it's slow. Everything is slow, but in New York and LA, things are fast, okay? Things move really fast. Now, LA is slower than New York. I will say that. That is absolutely a difference. New York, I just needed like rest weekends just to like chill out and sleep for like a day. But the hustle culture is alive in both. They're just different. Like in LA, for example, most people that I meet have like a day job and then they have a passion. They have a side hustle. They have a project. They have a passion for what they do in LA that I've never seen anywhere else that I've ever lived. And I love that drive. I love being around people who are always trying to strive for more or do something else, or think beyond just like this little box that they're in. Okay, so that's an amazing thing about LA. And in New York, it's just hustle culture. It's just like, what's next? What's going on? How do I get to the next thing? What do I want to achieve? How do I get there? And I love that energy as well. There's just like an energy in New York City. So when I get asked this question a lot about what's the difference between New York and LA, there's these differences, okay? The other thing is the commonality, okay? Like I was saying, the hustle, the grind, the drive. And I was thinking about how this relates to business, okay? And how in business, we don't get a lot of training. We don't get taught how to build packages. We don't get taught how to budget ourselves. We don't get taught how to create a profitable business, okay? One tactical thing that, as an example, is your profit and loss statements. How many people have a proper profit and loss statement? Okay, my first business I started, I didn't even know what a profit and loss statement was. And I had been in corporate for like 15 years. I had done a corporate job. I had made over, 6 figures, but I didn't know what a profit and loss statement was. And so I think that's an exact example of how we can, as business owners, as small business owners, and in corporate jobs, in our day jobs, the fundamentals that we need to learn and what is the difference and the same between a small business and being in corporate, okay? A commonality, a same thing is understanding your budget and understanding your money, okay? That is a very hard thing to do. I mean, when I ask people, even in corporate or you have a day job, like, do you have a budget? Do you know how much money's coming in? Do you know how much money's going out? Do you know how much money you have left over in your paycheck at the end of the month? And while we all know in this day and age where we're at, there's not a lot of money left at the end of the month on the paycheck, okay? But that's where the budget comes in, okay? So whether or not you own a business or you're working in a job, you need to have a budget and you need to have a PnL, a profit and loss, which is essentially the same thing in a business. It's just what money's coming in and what are your expenses and what are your losses. So that fundamental one tactical thing is important. It doesn't matter what, if you work in corporate or if you have a small business. So that's a similarity story that I say between when somebody asks me what's the difference or same thing about New York and LA. And New York and LA, that's the hustle. Okay, we all hustle. We gotta move. We gotta, like, what's new? What's next? What are we going after? What are we doing? We get up every day and we think about how we're gonna hustle more. And so that's a commonality of the two. And as well, when I relate that to business or small business, that's how I can relate one tactical thing that's the same. Okay, so my background is I've worked in corporate for 20 years. I worked in New York, I worked in LA, I worked in Detroit, I worked in automotive, CPG, which means consumer packaged goods. I worked in entertainment, I worked on movies, I worked on TV, I worked on video games. Okay, all this stuff that I worked on, like fundamentally the tactical things that it comes down to between running my own business and working in a corporation comes down to money. Everything's money. So one of the things that we can do to control our outcomes and what we get out of it is to understand our money. So I'm curious, and I want to ask anyone who's joining me live or who watches the replay of this, how many of you have a budget sheet? How many of you have a profit and loss? How many of you would love to know how to build one or what one would look like and would need one? It's something I could work on and help people with. I think that that's a fundamental tactical thing that a lot of businesses don't know. Okay, so that's the first and foremost. Okay, budget, profit and loss. What does that look like? I have, again, worked on these big accounts with hundreds of millions of dollars, y'all. Okay, hundreds of millions of dollars. And the flow charts like weren't matching. Okay, the budgets weren't matching. What was coming in and what was going out was not matching. Okay, so I've also seen this in corporate, huge companies. Like, let's get the basics and the fundamentals like locked first. So one of my assistants, she always joked that I'm the process queen. Process is my favorite word, and it's true. I love process. So one of the things that you can do and implement in your day-to-day life is have a budget sheet and have that be a part of your process, a part of your daily habits of looking at your money, understanding your money, what's coming in and what's going out. Okay, I hope that was super helpful today. I'm just jumping on every day, weekday, around 9:30, 9:40 PST, and I'm going to be sharing small business tips, and I look forward to having all of you come tomorrow, 9:30, and yeah, thank you. It's nice to meet you all, and drop questions, and I'll answer them tomorrow. Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm Rhiannon, by the way. I don't think I said that. Nice to meet you. Let me see. How do I end this? I don't know.